Happy April 15th. And for a lot of you guys, it is tax due date, possibly. What perfect time just to jump on this Zoom with one of my preferred lenders who I've been working with since I've started my real estate career, and that's been, as far as a licensed agent, for a little over 12 years. The infamous Brian Sacks, he's been in the industry for a long, long time, as you can tell. But
Yeah,
he's very knowledgeable. He's a great lender. He fights for his people like myself as an agent. And we want to jump on in. It just so happened to be April the 15th when taxes are due, but I think you can get an extension to the 20th. Just to talk about the real estate market, the lending aspects of it, as well as what we or myself is experiencing as an agent, being in the industry for 20 something years in the whole real estate world. So I'm just gonna kick it off with Brian because listen, you can't have a transaction without a good lender or any financials. So our job as an agent is just to get you in the house, negotiate a good deal. But the most important parts of the transaction is having a great lender who knows the market, who understands the market, who studies the market, and who is super informed about the market. And I wanted to introduce everybody to Brian Sacks.
thank you,
And
India.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm honored to be here. I've only been in the industry 40 years. Actually, yikes, 41 years. We're 2026, so this is my 41st year. And yeah, I guess you see the battle scars on my face, but it's all good. It's funny, India. I started, the interest rates were 18%, and people don't
Mhm,
believe that, but they were
mhm,
18%. They came down to
mhm,
12% about a year later, and I remember having this big wine and cheese catered office party in our office
mhm.
because it was like the heavens opened up. We got 12%.
Right, right.
So putting it all in perspective, it's a great, we're in a great market, honestly,
Right,
and a
right.
busy one. And you said something that's really important. It's important to have a great lender, yes. It's
Hmm.
also important to have a great real estate agent who fights for their clients,
Right.
knows the market, knows what's going on. And I think that team of you and I is really what gets results for our clients.
Yeah,
That teamwork.
definitely.
When you're out there, a lot of times your agent and your lender are adversaries. They're not working together.
Hmm.
Sometimes there's a disconnect. And I think the success that you and I have had, India, is because of that great motivation, that great knowledge, and us working together to make sure the common goal that the client is happy, the transaction goes smoothly, and everyone at the end, can say good things.
And I think the one thing we also have in common, which may be a gift and a curse, is that we're passionate about what we do. I'm passionate about advocating for my clients. I'm passionate about just making sure I cross every T and dot every I. And it may not even come across all the time as the perfect delivery, especially when you're in negotiation. And I think a lot of people have to realize when you are negotiating dollars to dollars and you're negotiating one of the largest transactions for people, um, there's some agents who don't care and just like, hey, I don't, it is what it is. But I'm that agent that I'll probably embarrass myself, or you may not like me after the transaction on the other side because I went that hard for my client. And it's not intentional. It's, me being informative, me being caring about my client and understanding the transaction. So I think that's the one thing I think we both have in common. We're very passionate and we'll go all the way to the top, try to supersede the top to get things done.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, India. Let's talk from real life experience, okay? You
Mhm.
and I right now are working on two transactions, okay?
Correct. Hmm.
In the week that you advocated for these two buyers, I had other realtors who I was
Hmm.
writing pre-approval letters for, and
Hmm.
I kept the stats. There were 10 pre-approval letters that weekend. Two were yours,
Hmm.
and only three deals got accepted over the weekend. Two were yours, and one was someone else's.
Hmm.
And what it says to me is, and I'm not going to give away your secret recipe or the secret sauce, but
Hmm.
I've watched. And the way you negotiate a contract for your buyer and for your sellers also, but
Hmm.
for your buyers, you have some unique recipes and some unique sauce, I'm going to call it secret sauce, and those
Hmm.
deals get accepted. You talk about the passion. Not every lender is going to call a listing agent and tell them how wonderful the buyer is and advocate for the buyer and take away the fear from the seller. Does this buyer even have the ability to go through
And
with
that's what
this?
you do well. You do well. Even like Brian works 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. Not saying, he wants calls 7 days a week, but he is like a machine. And the one thing I do appreciate when we're operating in the transaction is that Brian will call the agent and just give them some assurance that this client is fully qualified, not just credit pool, but fully qualified. I have their tax returns, I have all their documents. Because can you tell people the difference between, pre-qualification and qualified commitment?
Yeah, it's important. I'm going to go even a little bit deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pre-qualified means that everything sounds good. You speak to a lender, you tell them how much you make, how much you got in the bank, what your credit score is, and they say, great, and you're pre-qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-approval is much different, and you should get pre-approved. And the reason you should get pre-approved is for two reasons. Pre-approved means we've run your credit, we have verified your income with W-2s, tax returns, pay stubs, we have your bank statements. You
Mm-hmm.
are fully pre-approved. So why do you want to do that?
Right.
Well, the obvious reason is you want to do it because you want to make sure that when you go to India, you know what price ranges are comfortable for you, how much cash you're going to need for the transaction, what
Mm-hmm.
you need India to negotiate on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Many of you may not know, seller can help you with closing costs, but
Yeah.
it's a negotiation. It's not a given.
Exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
negotiation.
Negotiation. Yeah.
And that's why you need a skilled negotiator. You're really honestly, and I'll say it publicly, probably the best negotiator I know in this industry in Maryland.
Ooh.
And I mean that.
Why is that? I mean, I'm not to toot my own horn, but
I
I
think
just
it's
want to know
your
what you see that I
I
don't
think it's
possibly
your
see.
approach. I think that you just are a good negotiator. It's a skill set not everyone has, India, and
Mm-hmm.
you're able to do it in a way that is not a bully, if you will. You're trying to put a deal together that makes sense for everybody involved. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, a lot of agents don't do their homework. Okay.
Right.
They don't really go deep. They do surface level, but
Right.
they don't
Right.
really go
Right.
deep in
Mm-hmm.
understanding what's the seller looking for. What's their button? Every seller has a button. It might be price, it might be terms, it might be all sorts of different things.
Right.
And so I want to jump back to pre-approval for a second.
Right.
Pre-approval means that you are pre-approved. There's no guesswork now. You're approved. We have everything we need. We've run you through DU underwriting. And I'm going to tell you the mistake I see. There are banks and big known companies.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket Mortgage always comes to mind. I don't want to publicly, say anything bad
Right. Right.
about anybody,
Right.
but what I see lenders doing wrong, and it kills the negotiation. They give the buyer a pre-approval letter. So let's just give an example. Let's say you're approved for 400,000, and I can get you a letter saying you're pre-approved for 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is if you go look at a house for 380 and India negotiates it down to 375
Mm-hmm.
and you walk in with a letter saying you're approved for 400, how does that help your negotiation? You're telling the
Exactly.
seller I can go to
Right.
400.
Right. Right.
You're listed at 380, but I'm only going to give you 375.
Right.
So what India and I do, and it's so different. And yes, my wife calls me India a mortgage 7-Eleven because I'm literally open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's all good. Okay. So what India and I will do, if you're going to come in at 375, India will call me and she has no shame. She'll call me Saturday evening. She'll call
Mhm.
me Sunday
All the
morning,
time.
whenever she needs to, and I will write that letter for 375 if that's what your offer is. The seller doesn't need to know how much you're qualified for.
Right.
They
Right.
just need to know that you're qualified for 375. So when we play poker, we keep our cards close. We're not going to show everybody our hands.
Right.
And so that's just one key, I think, to negotiating success is understanding that, knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not going to give away your secret sauce, but you got a
Yeah.
couple tricks in
Right.
that bag that I've seen that make things happen, India.
Listen, we work well as a team, and that's what I enjoy. And you're very supportive. And I always tell agents when they're in the business, like, get with a strategic partner that's going to sit not you're always supporting them, where you guys can support each other. And you
100%.
definitely, you've
Yeah.
helped support our clients. You've helped support nonprofits within our team. So we're definitely grateful for a lender that not only lends but supports the community outside of the lending portion.
It's teamwork. It's teamwork
It's
that makes,
teamwork. It's teamwork. It's
makes
teamwork.
everything happen. And it can't be one way. It's got to be, it's a partnership. A partnership can't
Right.
be one way. It's got to be
Right.
both
Both
ways.
ways.
But, you know, before we jumped on, we were talking about something I'm seeing a lot of right now. Yeah.
Hmm.
And maybe we can talk about it because there are a lot of sellers out there that are looking to buy another home.
Hmm.
Okay, a lot of people, they're in a home, maybe they've outgrown it, maybe they want to move up, maybe they want to move
Hmm.
down,
Right.
downsizing,
Hmm.
and they're sort of stuck and confused. Like, what
Hmm.
if I sell my house and I haven't found another house? Where
Right.
do I sleep? Do I stay at India's? Do I stay at Brian's? Do I stay at a hotel? What do I do?
Right.
And what I'm seeing is something, and I want to share it with everybody watching because I think so few people know about this, something called a recast. So let's say you live in a home, you want to buy another home, and um, you haven't sold your house yet. Okay.
Hmm.
So one of the ways we can deal with that is if you qualify holding both mortgages, which a lot of people do. Okay.
Hmm.
Especially if you got one years ago, like 2.5%, and you've already paid down a good deal of the balance and
Hmm.
so forth.
Hmm.
You could do what's called a recast. So here's how it works. Let's say you want to sell your home and you have $100,000 you would get from it when you sell it.
Hmm.
You can go to another home, just put a minimal amount of money down. You have to qualify to carry both mortgages, but now you're able to settle on the new home.
Hmm.
And once you have settled on your house, the one you're living in currently, you can take that 100,000, plunk it down on your existing mortgage on the new home, and
Hmm.
we will recalculate the payments as
Hmm.
if you did it to begin with.
Right.
Okay.
Hmm.
So it's sort of a little bridge.
Hmm.
If you are thinking about selling your home and all of this concerns you, we have ways, India and I both have ways to deal with this.
Hmm.
And then you also get a month reprieve.
Hmm.
So we're doing this April 15th. If you settled end of April, your
Hmm.
first mortgage payment wouldn't be due till June 1st. So now you've got all of
Right.
April and all of May
Right. Right.
before you even have to make that next payment. Um,
Right.
Folks, we're getting people in homes. I mean, India, you and I are closing next week 2 deals,
Two deals.
and both of them were approved with appraisals in ready to go within 2.5 weeks.
Yes. Yes. And Brian likes to keep his settlement date. I think it's something that he
It's burned
he
in my brain,
it
I'm
burned in
told,
it's
but
burned in his brain, and he just, like, wants to win like a game of Tetris. Like, I want to meet my
yep.
settlement date, which is a good thing because it moves things along in the transaction. So yeah, so Brian, let's talk a little bit about the market. I was having a call with a title company today, one of our title partners that we use, and he was asking, is it slow for you? And
Um,
we were talking about, is it slow? And I think that this is my take, is social media will show one thing, but the MLS will show the truth for the most part, whatever people, the
yeah.
data is on the MLS. So, and I know a lot of people are leading with old data or just stuff just to activate their business. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to be, really intentional about the market right now. And I just think the market is, I think and maybe you can, because you're diligent about rate checking and stuff like that, because that's your wheelhouse. I think the market is good for the people who've never forgot their clients. I think the market is good for the people who uh are educating people about home ownership, not just showing videos and running through houses. I think the market is good for the most resourceful agents right now.
Well, it's, we always have, and I hate to say it this way, there's no
Hmm.
nice way to say it. We always have the purge. I always call it the real estate enema because
Hmm.
all the garbage in our industry
Right,
kind of just,
right,
they don't make it. Okay.
right, right.
And I've seen this so many times. I could identify 10 different times, maybe more in my career where I've seen this.
Hmm.
Folks, this isn't a quick buck business,
Hmm.
okay? It
Hmm.
looks glamorous being a real estate agent. It looks glamorous being a mortgage banker. It's work. And
Hmm.
if you're always doing the fundamentals, which is making sure you're taking care of your clients, staying up to date on the latest information in real estate, in our case, the latest programs available, you're in touch with what's happening. If you're doing the fundamentals, you'll be successful. I'm going to tell you what I think, India. I think this is more coming back to a normal market. Let's go back. Okay. We had a very tough slowdown. I'm going back to like 2018, 2019. We had a slowdown. Then
Hmm.
we had COVID. Remember COVID? People
Hmm.
were overbidding for houses, waiving addendums. It was like chaos.
Hmm.
Okay. So we went from here to a little bit of a dip to like, wow,
Hmm.
okay, craziness. And then it's kind of evened out. I don't think our market is back to normal yet, but
Hmm.
that's where it's headed. Okay.
Hmm.
It's headed to a balance. For a very long time, it was a seller's market.
Hmm.
Prior to that, it was a buyer's market.
Hmm.
And I think we're getting back to some sort of equilibrium
Hmm.
where people aren't going to overbid on homes necessarily as much in bulk.
Right.
Okay.
And I also feel like this is a buyer's market.
I think
Right.
it's a great, we are definitely shifting to a
Yeah,
buyer's
definitely
market.
shifting to a buyer's market where during COVID times that was an unrealistic market for us.
It wasn't real.
That
Yeah.
was an economic dump, which
Yeah.
was worked for you in a good way or worked against you because whatever. But you saw in that market a lot of agents were happy doing things, making big purchases, some are making smart purchases, but then also now you're seeing this market where certain agents have never been in a seasonality and they are experienced like
Right.
I'm not used to this market. I don't know what a slowdown is. And people need to realize, especially on the seller side, the average days on market are a little over 30 days, maybe 60 days right now. So we
Yeah.
definitely have to be patient and price appropriately. And then sometimes it's not always instantly a price adjustment. It's just being patient with the market because we're educating buyers and then we're also dealing with buyers that are feeling some level of uncertainty. And then some buyers that had their pre-approvals, they may have gotten shifted around because rates are adjusting. So,
Well, it's interesting to me because, you know the expression, India, watch what you pray for.
mm,
I see people saying, oh, I'm praying rates are going to go down.
mm,
Well, you really shouldn't
mm,
because I think six, seven, and eight is where the market is stable.
mm,
Above eight, seven, it's not stable.
mm,
Below seven, it's not stable against you. As a
mm.
buyer, what happens is, again, when rates drop significantly, what's going to happen is home prices go up. Why? Because more buyers come into the marketplace and drive up the price of the home.
Oh, exactly.
And so don't be praying for, don't be praying for rates to drop. I don't think that's what you want. I think we're not busy or slow. We're normal right now. We
Yeah, I
may be
think
on,
rates, yeah, normal.
yeah,
Right,
I mean,
right,
we're on the
right.
slower end of normal for
Mhm.
sure. Okay. We're not on the busier end of normal. We're on
Right,
the slower end
exactly.
of normal. But I think we're coming back to normal. And I think that's very healthy. I think that's a very good thing. Look, you have to look at your situation. I've said this on Channel 11 for maybe 20 years, India.
Hmm.
The right time to buy is when it's the right time for you to buy. So if you are renting and, rents shot up, and in Baltimore especially, Baltimore is one of the top markets in the country where it's cheaper to own than it is to rent.
Hmm.
So, is it right for you? I got to tell you, right now, we're taking credit scores of 600. You could put down 3.5%. There's city and state funds available. Like there's almost no excuse not to buy a house
Hmm.
right now because um, whatever your issue or challenge is, there's almost a program out there to meet everybody's needs. Um,
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. And I just think that, it's about making a deal. And that's where the agent comes in at to help you make a good deal on a property. And just because it's priced, that price, and I guess most importantly, just because you're approved for 600,000, that doesn't mean you got to go to your max. Now,
no, 100%.
if you start getting, adding on all these additional non-negotiables, then hey, you might have to go to your max to get into that space. But just because you are approved for $1 million, that doesn't mean you have to buy $1 million house. I just think you're just being realistic on what you want. Because either you're gonna buy something a little less, or you're gonna be maxed at your million if you don't want to get around your non-negotiables. So yeah, so I'm enjoying this season because wow, it's not over the top busy. It gives time to really look at the transaction, look at what's going on in the market, pace yourself for when it picks up, and then you get it. You don't have to. I don't have to write a lot of contracts now to get something approved.
Right, 100%. It's
Yeah.
again, this is back to more normal where
Mhm.
you can see 3 to 5 houses instead of 15 to 30. You
Right,
know,
exactly. And I think my clients are winning because we're not having to compete with a bunch of clients.
yeah,
Um, but what we are competing with is the seller thinking that they can get a little bit more, so they hold on to an offer until they find out like they're not going to get more than what,
the seller's not in touch with the market, and
right.
the MLS actually is a good tool for an agent to show to a seller
Mhm.
because it gives the statistics of where we are. You know,
Exactly.
I just want to cover one more thing, India, if you have the
Sure.
time.
Sure.
Um, you know, I had a conversation behind your back, and
Okay.
I'm going to just maybe share it with our audience if that's okay. I
Sure.
had
It
an
depends.
invest, but it was behind your back. You were not on this call. And I don't think we even talked about it, to be honest. But you sent me a client and they were still checking you out too. They wanted to kind of find out what you were about.
Hmm.
And they were talking to other agents, and I said, let me ask you a question. They were interested in being an investor. Okay. They were interested in investing in real estate.
Hmm.
And it was the first time. They didn't know what they were doing. And I said, would you rather work with a real estate agent, or would you rather work with a real estate agent that owns rental properties and that deals with tenants on a regular and consistent basis and understands the math as well as the physical, emotional, and financial issues related to you owning a home
Hmm.
and investment property?
Hmm.
And, that's what I think you bring to an investor that's so special. You are an investor. And
Right. I'm an
so,
investor, right? And I've had my title license, so I know
right,
title. And I
right.
also had my mortgage license. People don't know that
Yeah,
I was a licensed mortgage originator for a couple years.
yeah,
So I know
yeah.
all aspects. Yeah.
So if you're going to be thinking about investing in property, you need to call India because India is an investor and can tell you details from the field. And I want to just cover one more thing, India, that I think is so critical. Because over the years, I bet you and I have done 15 to 20 different transactions together
Hmm.
where we had, in most cases, it was a young lady
Hmm.
uh, purchasing a 2 unit property.
Hmm.
And how wonderful that is. You're able to now get into a home instead of renting, and
Hmm.
you're able to now get your toe in the water of being an investor because you're renting out the other unit. And
Right.
oftentimes that other unit covers almost most of what your mortgage payment would be.
Hmm.
You've done so many of those that to me it's sort of like a highlight
Hmm.
of what a wonderful way to, I've done more of those with you than anyone,
Right.
by a large margin. Okay. And that's the guidance you provide. It's such a wonderful thing. If you're renting right now and you're concerned about what your mortgage payment's going to be, this is something you should call India and sort of, and me, and just sort of check out,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it gives these folks such a strong foundation
Hmm.
that 5, 10 years later, they've now built wealth instead of making a landlord rich.
Right. So I always tell clients, as much as I want them to get into a house and everybody's, hey, I want to buy this, I want to buy this first, I tell them it's the gift of time. It's no, why I do want to sell you a house and I don't want it to, we hope that it doesn't take forever. I was working with a client for like 3 years until she found something. Now that's not ideal, but it's always the gift of time, especially, and I say that the gift of time for a client who needed to save some more money to have
Yeah,
more skin in the game. And I I think I cringe a little bit when I don't promote myself leading on any social platform. Hey, we closed this deal and he didn't have to bring any money to the table. I don't lead that way because I want people to have this some skin in the game, but I also want people to have some money set aside just in case things happen or just so you can have a sustainable life and live outside of the mortgage payment. So
yeah,
you'll never see me post something like this person with the closing and they came back with $1,300, which is great if you do that. But I cringe when a lot of agents lead with no money down, no money down, no money down. It's not a car, right?
right.
A car can be repossessed. This is a house. This is a big asset.
Yeah,
And not only do you need to live in it, you need to be sustainable in it. You don't want to be house poor. You want to have some mobilization money after you close. So you won't see me lead with that, but you always see me promoting. I want you to have a little bit more money put aside so you can be comfortable when you make this big purchase.
yeah. I mean, and look, how great we're doing this on tax day, and the average refund's about $4,000, I think, from the federal
Right,
government.
right. Well, not for me, but
Not for me
um
either.
But
But
yeah, so I mean, yeah, whatever, it's just a gift of time, and I say that because I know sometimes people find homes and they want them, but they don't have enough money set aside, or they're depending upon a grant. But if you could find a way to take an extra $100 out of your check a month, or just save some more money, or maybe double down on your savings, or maybe not spend, you might not be able to eat out twice a week anymore. Save as much as you can because I think your long game is better than your
yeah,
short game. So,
100%.
in this situation, not in golf, but the long strategy is better because then you'll have some mobilization and live comfortably without
You'll
living
be able to
paycheck
breathe.
and
You can
breathe
breathe.
without paycheck to paycheck because
Right.
anything can happen. I purchased my first home at 23 years old, right? I was new at this. I trusted my agent. I didn't know, and sometimes things happen. The seller was hiding some things. I came home, I had water in my basement. Come to find out, we started pulling the layers apart. They were hiding like a lot of mold, and they didn't disclose certain things, and that's one thing I pride myself with as an agent. I'm quick to say, hey, is the basement waterproof? Is it not waterproof? Like these just things that I'm knowledgeable of that I can share with my client. But when I purchased my house, I was just coming off of having my daughter. She was a preemie, so everything happened unexpectedly. So, but the good thing is I did have some money saved up that I could address some of the issues. It wasn't a whole lot because I was 23, but I did have some money saved put aside to help cure some of those damages that occurred. So,
Yeah. Beautiful. So how do they reach you, India?
if you are interested in working with me or just getting some knowledge from me about the market or real estate and how to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you can give me a call at 443-499-2431, or you can email me at india@madisonmasonhomegroup.com. India@madisonmasonhomegroup.com. How can they
Uh,
reach you, Brian? Outside of
um,
WBAL?
WBAL.com. No, you can reach me at 443-471-8557 or B Sacks, Sacks at cmghomeloans.com. India, I'm honored that you have me on here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored that we can just have this quick, normal chat and not have to have a lot of flyers and going over things. Just talking normal, just talking to people, checking temperatures, and just give them some knowledge on who we are and what the market has to offer. So,
And if you have questions for us, just leave them right in the comments below.
yeah,
We'll
just
be
leave
happy
them in
to
the
answer them.
comments. Hey, we
Yep.
like questions, especially Brian.
There you go. All right. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.